Welcome to our weekly Facebook Live session. I'm hoping that these things become more and more comfortable for you so you feel like you can call in and ask questions, and we'll try and get your answers. General Scobie, every day I'm in a BTC with him, and his main message to us is to communicate and to make sure the message gets out. To be honest with you, I think if I were sitting and watching the media and the news every day, I would be confused, and I would want to have some clear guidance as to what's going on in our specific areas. So I will tell you that our leadership is engaged probably as much as ever, and maybe even more so in some areas. We are communicating on a regular basis, and we're finding that the telework folks out there are connecting. I know that we're having a hard time sometimes reaching out to some of you. There's been some concerns expressed with some of the things that we're learning as far as telework, and communications is one of them. And I would say that if you have any questions about anything, please call us, call your supervisor, dial into these, get the words out so that we can update you, because it's a changing environment every day. I was laughing after the last one. I made a comment in one of our last Facebook Live sessions about what I thought was the current policy, and I got back to my office and opened up my email and found that it had changed. So it's a changing environment. A couple of big things this week. First of all, the sad news with regard to the loss of one of our own, Tech Sergeant Vogler, passed away down in San Antonio. We were sorry to hear that. His family has been notified, and we're dealing with that right now, trying to determine how to return him back to the base. Still looking at the cause. We don't suspect it was COVID-19 related, but again, it's going through the proper process to determine how and what happened with him. Sorry for his family, and remember his father and mother out there. Other things, big news this week. The big news was announced yesterday, April 1st, on schedule. We declared that we were fully operationally capable in the KC-135. That is a huge milestone that probably would have had I had my way and things were differently, we probably would have launched the fleet just to let the community know that Niagara Falls Air Reserve Station is fully back in the fight with regard to our flying mission. That is the result of about 3 years, not quite 3 years, of hard work on the part of all of our airmen and our civilian employees and the contractors on this base. Basically, by doing that, it declares to AFRIC that we are ready and back fully operationally capable and can take whatever tasking that comes our way. So that was a huge milestone, and unfortunately we didn't get to celebrate that in the way that I would like to, but I can tell you that down the road I think there's plans to do that and make that statement as we go forward. So congratulations to all who had a hand in that. It's really remarkable to look at where we are right now with regard to the status of our forces and our aircraft. We're in a good point right now and ready to take on whatever the nation asks us to do. Other big news this week, I have a Commander's Action Board meeting with General Scobie later on today in just an hour or so. And the purpose of that is to look at how we reach out to the community and what those programs we have here on base. And one of the big announcements came yesterday when it was made known that our own Betsy Russell, our key spouse here on the base, was awarded the 2019 Key Spouse of the Year for AFRIC. So congratulations to her and to all of our key spouses for all that you're doing. That was a huge win for the base, and it's certainly well deserved by our key spouse group. That will enable her. She'll now compete with those spouses on an Air Force level. So we'll see how that goes. In addition, I don't remember if I made this known, but our Airman Family Readiness Center, the folks involved in that group, were also awarded the AFRIC 2019 award in their respective elements. So great things are happening, and I would encourage you to reach out to them if you have questions about finances, anything to do with support functions for your family. A great group of individuals, and they're available. We've been trying to maybe even put some of them out there and socialize some of their messages. I know the Chaplain Corps had some interaction this week, and we're looking at other ways we can reach out with those areas. Still flying airplanes here every week. You'll see airplanes in the air. We're still doing that mission. I was joking the other day that the fitness center seems to be amping up the construction there. I think they poured some of the foundations yesterday, so those things are still happening. We are, I can't remember if we went HPCon Charlie, Health Protection Condition Charlie, before or after our last Facebook Live meeting, but we are in HPCon Charlie, not so much because of anything that happened locally here, but it was directed from the DoD to all facilities to go to Charlie. So we are complying with that. It didn't change a whole lot from what we had been doing previously. And of course, I tell my folks it's kind of like playing hopscotch right now. We have to look down at the next square we throw the sandbag into to see what HPCon Delta looks like if we were ever to get to that point. And so we're looking at those things as just discussion items right now. You will see some changes probably though starting next week just to take further precautions to safeguard our force. We will probably on Tuesday start implementing temperature checks in addition to the other screening that we're doing at the gate for people who need to be on the base. We're working through the process for that, but I ask if you're coming on base and you're somebody who reports to work every day to be patient. They're doing it our direction and trying to just help safeguard people. It may result in a little delay getting on base, but be kind and realize that we're just trying to do it to safeguard our force. Other than that, I know there's some strains going on now with telecommuting. I know the A6 is working real hard to work on the bandwidth issues and desktop anywhere issues. I am reading the inputs that you're giving to the IGI regarding some of the challenges you're feeling out there, and we're trying to address those as we can. So having said that, willing to take any questions that you have. And
Yes, sir. So the first question comes from Allison Flagg on Facebook. Sir, can you provide any information on the updated stop movement? How will this affect those deployed who are scheduled to return home within the month?
Okay, so that's a good question. I actually meant to address that in my remarks and I forgot. Thank you for reminding me. So our deployers who have gone out in two different deployment options or mobility options. One are the people who are mobilized to deploy as a result of a tasking that was levied on the wing. We were directed to fill a spot and we put somebody in that and they were mobilized to do that. The other are folks who have raised their hand and volunteered to fill a slot, a tasking that was not necessarily given to us but was another unit, and they are more or less what we would term voluntarily deployed. And so right now what's happening, and it's an ever-changing thing, and this is probably the area that is the most changing every day. What has happened is because of the stop movement, a lot of times, unless people were en route to the AOR, those people who had left and departed are continuing on to the deployed locations, and then those who have not have been stopped for the time being in moving. Now, that is true in some cases, but not all cases. So for example, if we were to take our airplanes and take our people over to a location and we were using our own military airlift, we would still be taking them there and bringing them home, and we're still seeing people who are coming home. It's those onesie-twosies who are relying on commercial airlift to go through the deployment transition centers, which is basically where we transition most of our people on those flights through that are closed right now. So they're struggling with and trying to determine how to best get that capacity back. So those people that would be coming home right now are being held in place. And so there's two things that are going on. One, they're asking those folks who are mobilized to voluntarily extend those mobilizations until they can fix the transition process and get their replacements in place. For those people who voluntarily mobilized, which we have a number and we're tracking them by name, they are also approaching them about volunteering to stay longer. There's some hesitancy to do that because, of course, if you're over there, if you volunteer, then I'm going to be here for however long I volunteer. But what they're trying to do is avoid the problem that we have with those folks whose orders end, and now how do you pay them unless you extend those orders? And the problem is if we don't extend their orders while they're in place, then there's problems when they get back home, and I've seen it take up to a year to extend those orders and get people paid. So they're asking people to consider extending until such time as we can figure out how to bring them home, and they will bring them home based on getting somebody in place to replace them, which is the priority, and then two, first in, first out to get those folks home. So that's where we are right now, and I will push out more guidance as the weeks go on, but right now that's how stop loss is affecting our deployers. So we're going to be reaching out to them individually and talking to them about their specific situations. My LRS and IPR are working to identify who those are, and we're going to talk to them specifically and directly about what that means in their individual circumstances. And again, if you have questions, I would call your commanders and ask them, and we'll try and again, we need to reach out to the families. I know there's a lot of angst at not knowing when somebody's going to return home. But right now it's a moving target, and I don't want to give bad information.
Okay, sir, so our next question comes from Gary Broderick. I was told by one of my 107th attack wing counterparts yesterday that they are being briefed by their boss that the 914th Air Refueling Wing is shutting down completely because of COVID-19. Not sure if these kinds of rumors should be floated around.
That's the other challenge with this, is to try and control the rumors. So this morning at 9 o'clock, I had a discussion, and every day at the end of the day, we have a senior leadership call-in telecon with all of my senior leaders in the 914th and all of the senior leaders at the 107th, the MEPS, and the Army Guard. We're all on the same line, and so we're all in sync. So sometimes information gets out that's erroneous, but with regard to that, there's absolutely no truth to the fact that we're shutting down. We are flying missions multiple times a week. As I said, there's construction going on in the base, maintenance is going on in the base. The 107th is still here, as is the MEPS. I enlisted 2 people last week. So operations are still going, and so if you can help us squelch that rumor, that's one of the reasons we have this, is so that you get it straight from me what's going on. We're trying to be very transparent in what we're doing and lead turn any decisions we make on the base. But no, we're not doing that. And I had a meeting this morning with all of the key functionals, the senior leaderships from the 914th. Colonel Charlton from the 107th was on, as were his medical personnel and his command leadership over there. And we were talking about what we do going forward in the event things do get worse here, and how we would interact and what steps we would take, and when we would declare a public health emergency, which we have not done yet, or when we would declare health protection condition Delta, which we have not done and don't anticipate in the near future. Every day we get an update from my public health officer on the conditions in the local community and the local hospitals to drive some of those decisions. So no, that's absolutely not true, and anything you can do to help me squelch those would be great.
So, sir, I actually have more of a personal question for you here.
Okay.
So, you've served for 35 years and have participated in several operations throughout your career. What is something new that you've seen happen with the Air Force during COVID-19?
Well, there's a lot of things that we're learning. First of all, I think, like I said last time, when I came to this installation, telework was not being used. I think we had shut it down. So we opened it up in situational telework, which means where we need to for weather conditions or snow events. We've allowed people to situationally telecommute, or where there's been a need in the home to do that for whatever medical reasons, we've done that. But right now what we're learning is that we are seeing some efficiencies in just the way we use telework and telecommute on our reservists. There's a lot of things that can be done remotely that don't need to be here. And what's really surprising is that a lot of the systems that we might have suspected would have trouble with, we're kind of working through those. So one of the positive things, if there is such a thing out of this whole thing, is that we've tested an area that we haven't really done before. And we've tested our continuation of operations plan, the COOP plan, and seen where we have some limitations there. That's been different. The other thing that I'm seeing, which happens anytime we get a crisis, is you see the best in people, and you see the worst in people. And thankfully for me here, I don't see a lot of bad things going on. I see people who are really trying hard to do their job from home, people who are trying hard to keep things going here, good attitudes really, considering all that's going on and all the turmoil and all the confusion and question. And so that goes with any crisis. You know, we tend to rise to the occasion, people do. And so for me, it's been, in all the things that I've done in my career, you know, on a personal note, you know, my children, we were planning on a big retirement, right, in a couple of weeks, and all that goes along with that. And of course, my whole family was coming out, and concern for me, they sometimes say, well, Dad, you know, it kind of stinks that you don't get to do that, which I guess is true, but really, I would never have wished this to happen, but because it is happening, what it's doing is causing things to kind of go into fast forward, and there's nothing more rewarding than to work with great people who are trying to combat a common problem or enemy, and that's what I get a chance to do every day. So the people that are working hard here, it's a great opportunity to be associated with good people who I won't be for very much longer, actually.
Sir, your next question comes from Gregory Ike. I was told Youngstown is attempting a full virtual telework UTA this weekend. Is that a possibility for us in the future?
They are, and I've been in contact with a couple of units that are trying that this weekend. So we still haven't made a decision on our May UTA, but my guidance to the commanders was to start exploring options on what we could do to telework for our May UTA, and still keeping June there. I'd still like, if this thing is kind of tapered off, to keep a full UTA, but that's kind of what my goal is to see how much of it we can do from telecommute. There's a lot of things that we do on UTAs that we can do remotely. And sometimes they get in the way with stuff that we do when we come here, where we need to be focusing on other things. So we're looking at that. That's what my goal is. More will come out as we start to do that. I've looked at some other basis plans on how they do that. I will tell you that we did push our UTA around August and September for two reasons. One, to keep people coming to the base who may need to do things on the base, and two, we have a couple of exercises on both those weekends that will be good to have more robust capability to keep people here for longer. That brings up another point, though. In moving those UTAs, there's some concern on people's part about getting a good year, and can we do more than 16 training periods in a quarter, and that has been legislated down to the NAF commander. And Monday, General Pennington is going to sign a blanket waiver for the wing to be able to push those UTAs in there, so you don't have to worry about doing more than the required number in a particular quarter. But yes, to answer your question, yes, we're looking at that. I would love to do that if we could.
And sir, along the same line, you may have answered this here, but I'll ask it here again. Crystal Harris says, have you made a decision on May's UTA?
So no, not May. That's the one that I'm looking at trying to do virtual UTA with as many people as we can that can telework. So still keeping it on the board. They're asking me to make a decision on it. I kind of want to see where this goes, because really the next 2 to 3 weeks are the critical period, I'm hearing locally and around the country. If in fact it gets to be where we can't do our normal UTA, I've asked the commanders to start formulating ideas on how we could allow people to telework there.
And sir, our next question comes from Joanna Marie. With doing temperature checks, will this be done by gate guards or a medical professional?
So initially we've got the ASTS medical personnel that are working to do that. 3 of those individuals we're going to try and get. And we're also asking for help from our tenant units. The Guard has medical professionals. They're out in the community, professionals out in the community doing that right now. We also have, I don't know if you all are aware of what capabilities we have on the base. We have the Army National Guard, which has a mobile surgical hospital. They also have a field hospital. They have lots of medical capabilities over there. So we're asking them to kind of assist us with that. The MEPS has been testing the people that are coming on base at their location before they come on base for a long time now, several weeks. So initially it's going to be medical professionals, but it does not have to be. So we've been looking at some other bases, particularly Westover, over in Massachusetts, has been doing this now for about a week or 10 days. And we're able to train people to do that, to take those temperatures. We realize that depending on the circumstances and the surrounding climate, if it's cold, we may not get an accurate read, but we're going to use as a screen to initially identify people, and then we'll deal with those on an individual basis. But right now the plan is to use our medical professionals, but to train others to be able to do it, because we simply don't have the capacity to do that for extended periods of time with the people that we have here.
So sir, it looks like our questions have kind of died down here, but I'd like to open up the floor to you if there's anything you'd like to add, or maybe if there's a message to our TRs who might be kind of far away from our base here. Just open it up to you there.
So I want you to know that as far as what my philosophy is right now is we're going to try and keep our missions going. I'm concerned that as we start into the summer, if we pull the throttles back too far and we shut down too much, that it'll be too hard to get them spooled back up when we need to going into June and July as we go out the door this summer with a big deployment. So I'm trying to keep some minimum missions going. I think it sends a good message to the community too when they see our airplanes flying, because they know that despite all the chaos that's going on, that as a military we're still here. And I think people need that reassurance right now. It was interesting, I think I read over this week that the Thunderbirds flew over Vegas just to let people know that there is some normalcy out there. So we're going to keep doing what we can there, and I appreciate those folks who are coming up with innovative ideas and ways to protect our force while keeping the things going. Secondly, it's important to me to know how our families are doing. We routinely, and we ask people to report to us if you have any situation that causes a health issue in your family, whether it's somebody we have a lot of family members who are healthcare workers who are out in the system and who may be exposed to people who have COVID-19 and now are self-isolating. We want to know who that is and who our members are that are in those homes. So 2 reasons. 1, we know how to deal with them, bringing them on base, and 2, we can reach out to them. And every person that does report that, we're having our medical professionals reach out to them. Dr. Marte is a skilled professional who deals with this pathology in his practice. No better expert on our team to be able to do that, and you have access to him for those questions. And so it's important, if you have a change in your status, to let your commanders know, and we'll reach out and make sure that we're monitoring all of you. Secondly, I know that there's concerns about UTAs and training, and people count on that for their monetary purposes, and so we want to make sure that we enable people to do that. Still hard for us. We're not able to bring people out of the local area who are coming from some of those hot spots, but it's my goal as soon as we can to put things back to normal. And I would encourage you to reach out, those of you who are out there, to our key spouses. They're available. They have my ear every day. They have direct contact with me, and also people like Dan Norton. I know there's a lot of apprehension. I mean, for somebody who's getting ready to retire myself and trying to sell a home in this market, to be able to move, I have my own concerns, and we've seen our retirements dwindle drastically, and so there's all kinds of pressures on people. But please know that we're here to support you. You're a family, and it's hard for me to individually convey that to you, but I do think a lot about our members who are out there, especially those who are long distance away. We recently had one of our members who decided that they did not feel safe in their location, and they moved back to this area just because it seems to be a little more safe than where they were previous to that. And so we're trying to work with that individual to make sure that they're cared for as well. So communicate. It's a two-way street. If you're not getting what you want, then it's because whatever method we're using to communicate isn't reaching you. Communicate with us. Let us know what your desires and your needs and your concerns are. Now, you're going to see, we're going to try and make other avenues available to do this, maybe at the squadron or the group level as we go forward, to get them reaching out on a more personal level with the people in their unit, answering some of those specific questions you may have for an individual commander. And we'll try to keep adjusting to what we need to do here.
All right, sir. Well, that puts us at the top of the hour. Thank you so much for everyone for listening. I see there's a few more questions coming through. As soon as I get back, I'll be sure to go back and answer those questions for you. But thank you all for joining us. And
thank you.